Alright, so I'm going to give people a chance to find it and get up in here, go use the restroom, grab a fresh cup of coffee. Yeah. I'll be back in a moment. I'm going to go grab something out of the China hutch at the motorhome. But, yeah, and I'll show y'all. newspaper article. I don't know what that newspaper article went to then. But throw this over here for a moment. Let me try this as well. Okay. Well, I've got 5 viewers. Why don't you all say hi? Somebody say hi. Grief. Don't make me feel so lonely over here. Uh, mm. Good grief, how does my coffee get cold so quick? Hello, Marlene. Oh, so I was looking for a newspaper clipping, or not clipping, but article, but it'd probably take me too long to find it at this point. It wasn't where I thought it was. So I'm gonna try one other thing before we get started. See if maybe I can find it online real quick. Uh, Give me a moment here. Do add a year in here. Let's do. Well, let me erase that. Oh boy. Wait a minute. Let's see. Do it that way. I ain't gonna go too much longer searching for that. If it doesn't pop up, then it doesn't pop up. If it does, it does. We'll just see real quick here. Do this one last search. With the omitted results. Do what? Do it this way. No, one other way. Shooting. That certainly ain't mine. Good grief. For some reason, I want to say. 3 shooters. No. Good grief. Well, that would have actually happened on July 3rd. Let's see. Let's put July 2012. I'm not going to go much further with this. Nobody died in it. Investigating a shooting after the victim was driven to the hospital. That's no, wrong one. Whatever. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, that ain't it either. Yeah, that's it. I'm not gonna. It doesn't really matter. Just minimize that. Okay. All right. So, let's see. It was around about 2010. I moved back to Oklahoma in 2006. Actually, I had purchased my very first piece of property. Wasn't nothing but a piece of vacant land. It was just timberland. And I went in and I cleared it all out, moved the motorhome on it, blah blah blah. And a few months later, I took a trip for Christmas back to this is in 2006 when I bought the first piece of land. 2005 or 6. 2006. Yeah. Anyway, a few months after I bought the land, moved the motorhome on it, I took a trip back to Illinois for Christmas. Ended up getting hemmed up in Illinois for 4 years at that point. Around 2010, the middle part of 2010, I decided to move back to Oklahoma. Back to the property that that I was so proud to own. It was the first piece of property I ever owned. Wasn't nothing to it. Not too many people would be so thrilled to have it. But I was tickled plum pink to have it, given I'd lived so many years enduring the homeless life. So, anyway, I moved back here in 2010 to that property. I'd been here just a few months. When false allegations spread around about the county about me. One night I was asleep about 2:30 in the morning. Get a knock on my door. I open it up. I'm in my robe. I open it up and there's a guy out there and about a half dozen other people. And the half dozen other people was just kind of pacing around. Meanwhile, the main guy talking, he's like, man, we broke down right out here about a block down. was wondering if we could get a jump. And I'm like, okay. Like, let me get dressed. So I didn't know these people from Adam. So anyway, I went and got dressed. Came back out. When I came out, them half dozen people wasn't out there. Just the one guy that had talked. Well, so I go over to my Jeep, and now the Jeep I had at the time, I had to disconnect the battery each night because the dome light, I couldn't get the dome light to go off or whatever. And so it would kill my battery overnight if I didn't disconnect it. So anyway, I went out, popped the hood on my Jeep, was connecting the battery up. When the next thing I know, this guy jumps me. I'm holding my own, doing just fine. Until, before he jumped me, right prior to him jumping me, I looked over at my neighbor's house. And on their deck, I seen them half a dozen people pacing around on my neighbor's deck. Given that and some things that just didn't add up with what that guy had said, I kind of he told two different stories about this vehicle having broke down. One was a flat tire, but apparently he forgot what he said, and then the next thing it was a dead battery, and I knew something wasn't right, but helping heart within me just ignored it. Whatever, I'll go go help him out. Anyway, so after I noticed that, this guy ends up jumping me. Like I said, I was holding my own just fine until them other half dozen people came over. And they helped a friend out. And they got me on the ground. And they began beating me. They began stomping on me, leaving me gasping for air. Calling me a sex offender. Telling me I was gonna move. So on and so forth. Now the determined side of me that ain't gonna take no jive without it being justified. They kept saying, "You're gonna move, ain't you, boy?" I wouldn't respond. Well, actually, I did respond at first. The first couple times, I said, "No, I ain't going nowhere." And that was that side of me that it's got to be justified if you're doing wrong to me. It's that determination side of me that wasn't gonna take no, pardon the French, but take no crap from nobody. They kept on stomping and stomping and beating and kicking till I was gasping for breath. And I thought I was going to die right there on them grounds that night. Finally, there at the end, it's like, you're gonna move now, ain't you, boy? So I kind of coughed out it. Yeah, I'll move. They took a few more stomps, left me just gasping. They left. They stole my keys, stole my license plate, whatever. It's all irrelevant, but somehow I guess I had my cell phone on me though. I guess, yeah, must have had my cell phone in my back pocket or something, and it would have been a flip phone back then. But anyway, so I was able to get my phone out of my pocket, dialed 911. Came out, took me to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. Cut on a head. Next day, I got back home and I got me a door, a full-size door, like interior bedroom door, I guess it was, or something. I don't remember. It didn't have a window in it. Anyway, I got a door, and I wrote in big letters on it something to the effect of, "Let each one of you pansies come back and fight me one-on-one like a real man. The woman can stay at home. God can deal with her." There was a woman in the gang. I went and got a hold of a buddy of mine. He loaned me a 50 cal black powder shotgun. Nobody shows up to fight me. But one guy shows up on a four-wheeler, starts taking a picture of my sign. And I march out there carrying that shotgun aimed right at his head. And I asked him what the blank he was doing. "Oh, I'm just taking a picture of your sign, man. I was just going to show it to my wife." "You either get off that four-wheeler and fight me right now, or you get that blank out of here, or I'll blow your head off." He left. Somewhere shortly after that, within a week or so of having that gun, my dumb self, I was walking around carrying that gun. I was walking outside, looked down, seen my shoe was untied. So I knelt down to tie my shoe, and I had my thumb inside the trigger compartment or the trigger area of the gun, and I put the butt of the gun down on the ground, and not thinking, used the gun as a crutch to kind of lean down on. And as I did, my thumb hit that trigger, and that barrel was right here up against my head. And the shotgun went off, grazed the hairs on my head. Felt mighty blessed that day that I didn't die. I went back to my buddy and said, "Man," I said, "this is what happened, man. You got a different gun I can borrow? This thing's off. I don't like this thing." So then he gave me a 50 cal black powder pistol. All right, I can work with this. So I took that 50 cal black powder pistol around for a while till I find till I was able to purchase my own gun, which was just a single shot 22. Not a single shot 22. It was a 22 revolver. Yeah, it was no. Get it right, Brian. It was a 22 handgun with clips. It was like a brand new gun, had a carrying case and all that, several clips. I think it was like 10 round mags. I got me a holster with it. I was able to carry a couple extra mags on my holster. I always carried a gun fully loaded, one in the chamber. Time goes on. I wouldn't go out of my house without my gun. I wouldn't go nowhere without a gun. Of course, I was a felon. Wasn't supposed to have no gun. She got me messed up. A gang of people come and jump me in the middle of the night. Threatened to come. Oh, and that was the other thing. They threatened to come back and kill me if I didn't move. Meanwhile, the police knew exactly who it was that did it, but they was a big name in the county, held a lot of weight in the county. So the police, the sheriffs, they wouldn't do a thing about it. Time goes on, and I end up getting with this chick. She's a real good gal, actually. She's a real good gal. Anyway, I had a couple of kids. I looked after them kids like they was my own. One day I'm out in my yard. I'd bought a second piece of property, which was next to me. Anyway, that's another story for another day, whatever. But anyway, I bought a second piece of property, which was right literally next to me, butted up to my property. And I had put a fence around the property. It wasn't nothing major, just kind of like a chicken wire fence. I'm out there working in the yard one day, and I got my boy out there working with me. I considered him my boy, you know, because I mean, he was my little sidekick. Had my boy out there. He was, you know, whatever we was doing that day, and another neighbor come over to me, thinking he's all big and bad, talking about my blaring music at wee hours in the morning. Don't get me wrong, I like to blare my music, and I'm sure I had in times past, but the particular occasion that he was accusing me of, I hadn't done. It wasn't me. I don't know what he was talking about. But he wanted to come over threatening me about that music, and he was going to whoop my rear end, and told him he just needed to leave. He tried to entice me to come on the other side of the fence, and I said, boy, you ain't doing this with my boy out here right now. He told me, he says, I'll catch you when you're out and about. Me and my sons here, we're going to put stomping on you like you ain't never seen in your life. Okay. I've always been the type of man that don't back down. I don't take no crap from nobody. So, went back across the road to the house I was staying in while we was fixing up the property. Took the boy over there. I told the gal I was with at the time, told her, I said, listen here, I want you to keep these children in the house, keep yourself in the house, don't come out for no reason. I don't care if you hear gunshots, which you're probably going to. Don't you come out of this house for no reason, don't you call the police. Don't you do it. Unless you know that I'm dead, don't call the police. I left out the house, went back across the road, went and got another door that I must have had laying around or something, and I called that neighbor out. By this time it was going on dark. I set up a floodlight. I had me a drop cord run across the road to my garage, and I hooked up the floodlight to that drop cord. And I aimed it out towards the road. Had it at the front of my garage. Aimed it out towards the road, and at that point, I'm trying to remember if I had the 40 cal or not, because I ended up in the middle. As time went on, I ended up buying a 40 cal handgun with a couple extra mags, and but I also bought a single shot 22 rifle. I don't remember what guns I had exactly. I do remember having the 22 single shot rifle though. Pretty sure I had that 40 cal still too. In fact, I'm certain of it. Well, anyway, so it got dark. And these neighbors finally seen that sign I put out there calling them out. Because I wasn't going to let somebody catch me out and about. What's going to happen, though, we're going to go ahead and get this on. We're going to get the party on. We're just going to take care of this right now. So that was my mindset. So I got up in the garage and hunkered down. Because I knew I was going to continue. It was just me. But I knew I was going to contend with a gang of people on that one. Because that guy's family was pretty big. He had many sons, many grown sons. And they was all just as crazy as he was. So anyway, I went hunkered down in that garage. Next thing I know, car turns down my road. And they're driving real slow, and they got their windows down. They're looking to spot me. And I hear them talking amongst themselves. There's a couple people in the car, I guess. I don't know how many people was in the car. There was at least two, though, I know. They was talking amongst themselves about where is he and blah, blah, blah. Then, of course, they was looking for me, so I popped off around. I wasn't trying to hit them. I just popped off around over their car. And they hauled butt down the road, but that road was a dead end. I knew they'd have to come back past me. Next thing I know, though, they hadn't come back yet when another car turns down the road. And they're doing the same thing as their buddies. And so I pop off around over their heads, too. I don't remember if I used a 40 cal pistol or if I used a single shot 22. I really don't right remember. But well, anyway, they did the same thing as their buddies. They hauled butt on down the road, gassed it. About this point in time, I don't remember if there was a third car. I think there was a third car that was starting to do the same thing or something. But about that time, that original car was coming back down the road, and they're creeping again. I don't remember exactly. I don't remember if I popped off another round at them, tried to get a little closer to them without hitting them, or what I did. But apparently, they spotted my cord on the road and guessed that must have been how I was staying hidden without being seen. Because I mean, it was kind of obvious what I was doing. To be honest, I mean, the garage was completely dark, not a light going on inside of the garage. And it was just that spotlight shining out towards the road. That way I could see them, but they couldn't see me. Well, anyway, they must have guessed it as what I was doing. And so they come back slow creeping, and next thing I know, I hear a gunshot. And I honestly believed that they was firing in the garage at that precise moment that it happened. And so I instantly fired off a round back. Well, as the gunfire exchanged, my light went out. And then as soon as the gunfire exchanged between the both of us, they hauled butt back out of there again. And it took me a second, and I realized, oh, they shot my cord. They shot the cord in half, got my light out. Now I'm sitting in there, hunkered down in that garage. I'm just waiting, because I know that ain't the end of it. Ain't no way that's going to be the end of it. So I'm hearing a bunch of noise going on outside. A bunch of commotion, like trees and leaves rattling. As you know, it sounds like people are walking around and starting to surround the garage. Sounding like a fancy Indians or something circling the garage. And I was in a mindset, I'm taking as many of them out with me as I can as I go out. Because I knew that they would kill me. I mean, there was too many of them. Just too many of them. I knew I was a dead man once they got in that garage. But in my mind, I was going to take as many of them out with me as I went. I was going to go out in a hail of gunfire. That was the way I had my mind programmed. I was going out in a blaze of gunfire. And as I'm sitting in there in that garage, hunkered down in that garage, listening to all they're trying to be quiet about surrounding the garage, but I could hear the rattling of the leaves, crunching of the leaves. I knew they was gaining on me. And that stupid broad I was with, love her to death. She was the sweetest, most kind-hearted broad I ever was with in my life. But that stupid broad. Oh my goodness. She came up out of that house. She's across the street. She hollers over at me. Hey, Brian, I called the police. Oh, I like to flip my wig when she did that. I started screaming back at her, get your mother effing ASS back in the house right now. Well, I just wanted to let you know I called the... Get your mother effing blankety blank in the house right now. Oh, I was so mad, so angry that day when she did that because I just seen her life flashing before my eyes at that moment. It's like these people gonna pop her off. They can't find me, can't get to me. They're gonna pop her off, and if I see them going for her, well, I mean, obviously I'm gonna have to come up out of hiding, and I probably won't be able to take hardly anybody with me as I come out of here trying to protect her. Boy, I'm so mad. Anyway, she finally did take the rear end back in the house, but anyway, apparently it was enough that it scared all those idiots away, and next thing I know, police are showing up, surrounding the place. Well, I caught a real break that day. I mean, I caught a break hard that day. One of the officers that showed up, I just happened to have some interaction with him in the past, and he had mad respect for me, and he kind of felt like he owed me. And but nonetheless, all the cops show up, and a couple of cops in particular, the one that felt like he owed me, which I didn't know he felt like he owed me at in the moment. But things proceed. Investigation goes down and all this. They go and talk to the other neighbor and blah blah blah. And finally, by that point, most of the cops had done left except for these two. And this one, he looks at the other cop. He says, "Go on, take off. I got this." And he's like, "What? What you mean?" And he again just looks at him and he says, "Go ahead, take off. Got this one, all right, bro." And the other cop just looked at him like, "All right, man, whatever." So he took off, and that last cop left. Sheriff, he looked at me and says, "Man," he says, "by all rights, I should be hauling your butt to jail right now." So he went on to explain to me why he had such respect for me, and how I had helped him out in the past. And he told me, he says, "Well, listen," he says, "I'm going to take you to jail. I'm going to leave your gun leaning against that fence right there even. I'm not going to take your gun. But man, if I have to come back out one more time about anything to do with the shooting, not only am I going to charge you with the new offense, but I'm going to charge you with this one too. Don't think I won't." Sir. So he took off. Oh boy. And it was about a month later. I bought a third piece of property. And this property I bought had a squatter on it. And I told that squatter 2 weeks prior to me buying it, I told that stupid squatter that I would be purchasing that property and that he needed to be gone by the time I purchased it. I guess he thought I was joking. He thought I didn't have the means, the finances to do so because of the way I was living and whatnot. And I guess he just figured by the way I lived, I didn't have no money. Didn't have the means to do it. I don't know what he thought. I really don't. Needless to say, I kept trying to tell him over the course of that 2 or 3 weeks that it was prior to me buying the place. He needed to get his stuff and he needed to go. He wasn't listening to me. So the day came, July 3rd, I believe it was, 2012. I bought the property, clean and clear in my name. I went back home and started talking to a trucker friend of mine. I'm like, I don't know what to do with that about this squatter here. He's living up in my house. I bought this place. He's living up in my house. I'm gonna leave. I've done told him to leave. He won't leave. And I guess maybe I have to serve him with some sort of eviction notice or something. Man, that's a lot of trouble to have to go through. Man, I shouldn't have to do that. I just bought this place and he's squatting. Well, my trucker buddy was, kind of a hard-nosed type of person too. And truth be told, deep down inside, I probably knew that he was full of it, and that what he was telling me was not really lawful. But he had just all the right words to say that apparently I wanted to hear. And he basically told me, man, that's your property. You go and take possession of your property. Don't let this punk do you like that. And that is just what I needed to hear. What I thought I needed to hear. So I put together a game plan. And the next day, July 4th, 2012, I showed up with my crew. Me, the old lady, the kids, a couple of hired hands. We went over there and we cleared that house out. We set that dude's stuff all up out in the front yard. Set it all out there. Just went in there, cleared that house completely out. And this idiot that was squatting, he let's see here. Okay. Anyway, this idiot that was squatting, and I seen him down there when he rounded the corner. And the driveway to the property was a long driveway. I seen him pull in, and he come rip roaring down there that long driveway like a bat out of Hades. So I hollered at the old lady, "Get the gun!" She went running for the gun. I hollered at my hired hands, "Get the kids inside the house now!" I went to the Suburban, grabbed the axe hammer out to the Suburban, and this moron brick-barned down that driveway, fish-tailed into the into the parking part of the driveway, and came within a hair of smashing into my Suburban. And that little boy and girl, and little kids, was walking past that Suburban on my side. And he came that close to hitting that Suburban and taking them kids out. And this moron gets out of his truck acting a fool. Starts carrying on, hooping and hollering, telling me he's going to beat my rear end. I don't know how I stayed so calm through all that, to be honest. Somehow, though, that day, and I really don't get it because I wasn't living right for the Lord at that time. I wasn't living right for the Lord at all. But man, somehow I kind of stayed cool, calm, and collected that day. He got out the truck, and I just stood there with that axe hammer in my hand. He starts approaching me, and the old lady, she's off about 100 feet away, and he kind of had an angle from me. And I told that homeboy, I said, look, boy, you better stop right where you're at before you get yourself shot. And he just carrying on. I must give him a half dozen warnings. And then the old lady, she gave him a half dozen warnings herself. So he had a dozen warnings between the both of us. And he looked over at my old lady and he said, you can shove that gun up your blankety blank. You ain't going to shoot nobody. And he came for me. And I had a choice to make. I'm already a multi-time felon. I could bring that axe hammer down on his head, split his skull wide open, kill him dead as a doornail right there on the spot. Or I could take off running. Or I could let him beat me to a pulp. Or I could bark out the order for her to shoot him. And in that moment, as I seen his hands coming up in the air and starting to come down at me, I barked out the order, shoot him. She popped him. And he started jumping around like a chicken with his head chopped off, holding his arm. I can't believe you shot me. I can't believe you shot me. What the world do you expect, you numbnuts? We both gave you a half dozen warnings apiece. You think we wasn't going? We wasn't. Think we was playing or something? Well, this idiot gets on the phone, calls the police. Truth of the matter is in a carnal way of looking at it, I should have took the gun and I should have went ahead and finished him off. And then I should have grabbed his passenger out the truck and I should have finished her off too. Buried the bodies off in the back 40. It had been our word against a dead man. Dead man and a dead woman, if it was ever discovered. That's a carnal way of looking at it. Of course, I was living in a carnal mindset back then. But even in a carnal mindset, we live and we learn. Well, we called the police. And as the police are coming out, before they actually get there, I told the old lady, I said, when they get here, hold your gun up, or how did I tell it to her? yeah, I told her when they get here, just hold the gun up like this, and then, as they're coming down the long driveway, so that they can see what you're doing, and see that you're not going to be aggressive. I want you to hold the gun up like this, and as they're coming down the driveway, slowly bring it down to the ground and place it on the ground, and then back up. Now, I don't know that I don't think you're going to go to jail, is what I told her, because it was self-defense. But if you do, don't stress. I got you. I will come get you out, come hell or high water. I was honestly flabbergasted when they hauled her to jail. Should have been stand your ground. Should have been a right to defend your property and your family. No, they hauled her to jail. I don't remember. I don't remember if they charged her with attempted homicide or what. It seemed like they just charged her though with assault and battery with a deadly weapon is what I think they ended up charging her with. The next day though, I went up to the district attorney's office to figure out what her bail was. And I had the two kids in my care now at this point, while their mom is sitting in jail, never been charged with a thing in her life. I go up to the district attorney's office, I'm making waves, trying to figure out what her bail is and so on and so forth. And they're just being all kinds of nasty to me. And in the end picture, me harassing the DA trying to figure out what her bond was, trying to figure out how I could get her out. I guess it ticked them off. And so they decided to charge me with a crime too, which would proceed, which would take place a little bit later that next day, because that next day she had arraignment. So I went to court on that arraignment to find out what her bond was going to be. And in arraignment, I found out it was going to be $50,000. So once they took her, got done with her and took her away, I grabbed the kids up. I start to leave out the courtroom when the bailiff looks at me and, "Sit down now." And I'm like, "Huh? Me? Yeah, you sit down now." Okay. Oh, I sat down like an idiot. I actually shouldn't have, because he didn't have no right to hold me at that particular moment. They didn't have a warrant for me. My dumb self not understanding the laws back then. I I should have just left and let him come after me. But I didn't. I let that bailiff intimidate me. Blah, blah, blah. They end up charging me with possession of a firearm after former felony conviction. I wasn't the one in possession of the firearm, but they decided to charge me with it anyway. I mean, let's face facts, though. I mean, I deserved it to some extent. Well, no, I really didn't. I did, but I didn't. If the reasons for why I was a felon that shouldn't have been able to have a firearm was legitimate, then then I then I deserved it. But I'm not going to explain it all right now. But the reasons for why I was a felon wasn't legitimate, and so I should have never been a felon. So I should have never been. Uh, I should have had the right to carry a firearm. And the other thing that, well, that all don't matter anyway. Whatever. Um, but anyway, even though at that particular moment when he got shot, I wasn't in possession of the firearm, and the cops really didn't have a way to prove that I had even touched the firearm. I, in all fairness, and to admit, of course, I had held that gun, you know, and had fired that gun many, many times. So, yeah, I broke the law. So, I mean, regardless, I mean, I was guilty. Well, anyway, my bond was 5,000, which meant I had to have 500 to get out. No, 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 no. It was 10,000. Meant I had to have 1,000 to get out. And well, anyway, a buddy of mine come up and he posted my bail and got me out. I went on a selling spree at this point. I had 3 properties, a couple of SUVs, the farm tractor, dozer type of tractor, um, uh, whatever else we had. Anyway, I went on a selling spree, and inside of 1 week, I sold everything. I owned nothing left except for the clothes on my back, and I raised the money to bond that old lady out of jail and to hire us both an attorney. So much heartache, so much pain happened after that over the course of the next, oh man, really many years in regards to that shooting. In the end picture, she ended up getting 20 years on probation, the first 2 supervised, the next 18 unsupervised. And I ended up with 10 years probation, the first 2 supervised and the last 8 unsupervised. Matter of fact, I'm coming to the end of my 10 years probation now, of unsupervised probation. Lost my family. Ultimately, in the end picture, lost that family. The children was taken by the state. Well, no, they wasn't taken by the state. Well, they was taken by the state, but given to other family members. So many tragedies came out of that. And that old lady, she stayed with me as long as she could bear. She loved me with all of her heart, and I loved her with all of my heart. I tell you what, that woman was a true man. She was a true woman. Well, it's behind me now. I mean, yeah, the first 2 years being supervised probation, that's what that's a lot of what led me into living a hermit lifestyle. I did 13 years without no driver's license due to too many no insurance tickets. And I knew that if I so much got caught driving a car, that could violate my probation and send me back. Now, granted, I live out in the country, and by the time all that happened, like I'd already rebuilt, I actually bought the property that I'm on now. I like after I lost, after I sold everything, lost everything over it. I think it took me less than 6 months, and I had made a deal on this property to purchase it on a contract for deed. I ended up having this thing paid off in right under 3 years. I was actually very proud of myself for that. Uh, but anyway, that's all beside the point. part of the reason I was able to pay it off so quickly is because I hunkered down so much, lived a hermit lifestyle so that I would not violate that probation. But with living that hermit lifestyle led me to even deeper, darker paths. People on some vent sites on Facebook decided to start in on me because of that juvenile label. And as time went on, I had thousands of people on these vent sites ridiculing me. And I'd show the proof, the cold, hard facts on black and white. Show the proof to them, and they wouldn't listen. They didn't want to hear it. They just kept on, kept on. Oh, you just printed that right off your printer. Nobody was trying to hear the truth. And after dealing with that for about 2 or 3 years, I finally had had enough. So I started making names. I started taking names. And I started working on trying to get me an arsenal. My plan was I was going to take out as many of those people from them vent sites as I could. And if I was still moving around free by the time I got done killing all of them, I was going to head for Illinois and kill a few people up there. But in the end picture, I didn't expect to live through none of it. In the end picture, I knew I would get caught. I had no ideations of not getting caught. My ideations was just to kill as many people as I could and go out in a hail of gunfire, maybe intertwined with a fiery crash rolling end over end as I'm, speeding down the highway running from the police. Oh, man. But as I'm gearing up to start preparing an arsenal, the Lord never gave up on me. Even though I had given up on him, he never gave up on me. Oh, man, I tell you, I don't know why he didn't. Well, yes, I do, but sometimes it's just extremely hard to believe why he didn't give up on me. With the lifestyle that, the horrible past I've had, horrible things that I've done, robbing and stealing and armed robberies and breaking and enterings and all the people that I've hurt in my life. It's so hard to understand. It used to be so hard to understand how a God, how God himself could claim to love such a heathen as me, let alone actually love a heathen like me. The people that I have frightened to death by putting guns in their faces and then threatening their very life. How could God forgive a person like me? Now, if y'all been paying attention to the message today prior to this story, then you have your answer as to how God could love and forgive a person like me, such a sinner as horrible as me. I caused that woman to lose her kids because of my actions that day, that July 4th day of 2012. Caused her to lose her kids. And you know, it took me many years to heal from that. many years, that one there. That one kept me bound in absolute sheer agony, outright depression, because I could never forgive myself for having cost such a lovely lady, such a wonderful, kind-hearted lady, to have lost her kids. I mean, she got to be in her kid's life. She got to see them. She got to see them as much as she wanted. Don't get me wrong, but as far as actual custody, she lost custody of her two kids because of my actions. How could God love a man that cost a woman the custody of her kids? Like I said, I already answered that question today. This is just a question that I have asked myself for many years, many times over and again, as I beat myself up and allowed Satan to beat me up, beat me down for all the horrific actions and deeds that I've done in my life. The crazy thing is the stuff I'm actually guilty of, I've never served prison time for. But the stuff that I wasn't guilty of is what I've served prison time for. Isn't that crazy? I've served prison time for the stuff that I shouldn't have served prison time for, but I've never served prison time for the stuff that I should have served prison time for. I got a scar on the back of my hand. I don't know if y'all can see this scar or not with the camera. Let's see. Oh, get out of the way. Let's see here. Right there. There's a scar right there. I don't think it's going to pick it up very well. There's a scar right there. That camera ain't picking it up too well. But, well, anyway, that scar came from me breaking and entering into a house. I truly believe that the good Lord protected me and kept me from jail and prison on my crime spree, on my several month crime spree, way back many years ago. But not without a cost. He allowed a mark to be put on me that would be with me for the rest of my life. That I'd have to look at and remember what I've done. And remember how much God loves me to forgive me for the horrors that I've done, the pain that I've caused to people. It was extremely hard It's been extremely hard. It isn't anymore, but it was extremely hard to accept even as I started coming to an actual relationship with the Lord. It was still so hard to understand how God could possibly love me, how God could possibly forgive me, of all people, with the atrocities that I've done. But then I get to reading that Bible and reading things such as there isn't a sin in this world that is any greater than the next. A sin is a sin in God's eyes, and all sins in God's eyes are just as great of a sin as the next. And I get to reading things like Ephesians 6, chapter 6, verse 12, talking about who our enemy is. And I get to dealing with people like my ex-wife. And through that, I learned how to forgive, because it's not really her that does these atrocities to me. Just like it wasn't really me that caused all that heartache and pain. My biggest mistake is in whom I chose to serve at that time. Don't get me wrong, I accept full responsibility for all the heartache and pain I caused. I ain't justifying anything, trying to make excuses, trying to not take blame. No, not any of that. But ultimately, my biggest sin was in whom I chose to serve. I chose to serve the evil master during those seasons of my life. Just like the ex-wife. Do I think she's any better than I was before I come to the Lord? Good grief, no. She's not any better nor any worse. That's right, I said nor any worse than who I used to be. All the people over at that other channel, they ain't no worse than I used to be. They ain't no better than I used to be, and they ain't no worse than I used to be. No, the folks that are trying to bring harm to me at this point in my life, no, their biggest mistake is the same biggest mistake that I made, which is in whom to serve. Past that, once we make that decision in which whom to serve, we turn ourselves over as a tool to that particular master to be used by that master. Praise the good Lord above, though I've been set free. The perspective has changed. Okay. I've been set free, delivered, forgiven, and just like the scriptures we read earlier today, I lost my train of thought there. You know, the good Lord, I was that lost sheep out of 100. I was the one that ran astray. And the good shepherd set out in search of me. And he used different people and different means in which to finally get through to me, including my mama Marcy. Bless her heart. She gets to enjoy her heavenly reward. She passed all tests set for her with flying colors. There's a few other people that the Lord sent into my path along the way that helped. That helped guide me to that narrow road and away from that broad road that leads to destruction. And I'm telling y'all what, I have such a righteous anger with Satan himself, deceiving so many and causing such hard-heartedness, and causing so many to be so lost like I used to be. Now, now my heart cries. My heart bleeds, knowing how lost I used to be. Cries and bleeds for those going down the same path that I used to go down. And I traveled down for so many years. I'll tell you what. I pray the good Lord gives me the chance just to get one good punch in on that old devil when it comes that time, right before he has to spend eternity in the pits of hell. Just give me one good whack at that sorry SOB. And that was a sin right there, using the initials. Lord, I'm sorry for that. Boy, I get so mad about the devil. Because ultimately, he's the one. He's the one that causes all of this heartache and pain in this life. You want to blame God because so and so loved one passed away or died or this and that so unjust. You want to blame God. Ain't God doing this stuff. You want to blame somebody, put the blame where it rightfully belongs. It's on Satan. He's the one creating all this ignorance. Trying to blame it on God so that he could steal from God in an act of revenge to get back at God for being kicked out of heaven. Yes. What? I was getting mad at the devil. Okay. Well, thank you for the thumbs down. I appreciate y'all. Let me know I'm on the right track doing the right thing. Y'all go ahead and continue with that hard-heartedness. You ain't hurting me. You're just hurting you. It's your eternity you're playing with. Your eternal life. Not mine. Praise the good Lord. Lord, you can give up on this old sinner. He didn't give up on this old sinner. Because he didn't give up on me, I now know where I get to spend eternity. And I will spend the rest of my days trying to get through to you stupid, hard-hearted people. Ignorant. Wake up. Understand that there's a love out there that surpasses your ignorant understanding. Stop being so hard-hearted. What does it profit you to continue to be so hard-hearted? Really, what does it profit you? So hard-hearted, so full of hate, bitterness, jealousy. What really does it profit you? Where does it get you? The hatred and the bitterness and the jealousy, the mockery, is not going to get you into an eternal paradise with the Lord Jesus Christ. It's not going to happen. Tell you what, I'm in the mood tonight, I guess, to get a lot of this out of the way. I've been feeling the need to put my stories out there, and I guess tonight is that night. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to create another one. That way I can have separate chapters of my life on separate videos. That way, you the viewers, you get to know me for who I am today, but you also get to know me for who I was in my yesterday. And in that way, maybe someday, if you let your heart soften a little bit, maybe you'll begin to understand the truth of God's love and how I can love so much. And with that love, how I don't give up on so many. With that love, how I can find forgiveness and give forgiveness, while at the same time not being ignorant and falling prey to more attacks. So stay tuned, as just like the last time, I'm gonna create another video here when I end this. Take me a couple minutes. Go to my page. You'll have to click the live option on my page because I've used up my notifications for the day. So here we go.